Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning to all of you. I welcome you all in English Literature lesson of class 5. Our reader is The Secret Garden and it's written by Frances Hodgson Burnett. You have already read 3 chapters, so let's recall them. As the story begins, we were introduced by the main character, Mary Lennox. She was 9 years old and lived with her mother and father in a huge house in India. She was spoiled by her servants and was neglected by her parents as they didn't have a lot of money for her. She had yellow hair and pale face because she was often ill. Then cholera epidemic killed her mother and father and most of the servants. So she was sent to Yorkshire, England to live with her uncle Mr. Archibald Craven in Misselthwaite Manor. In chapter 1, we were told that Mary was very bossy, so she didn't like rules and getting orders from others. Mrs. Medlock was also introduced in chapter 1. She was a strong woman with red cheeks. She was a good servant, but she didn't know anything about children. She told Mary about her uncle, Mr. Archibald Craven, who lives in Misselthwaite Manor. She told her that it has 100 rooms and lots of garden, but there are rules. She told that she must not open the locked doors or play in the corridors, as her uncle doesn't like it. In chapter 2, Martha, a friendly Yorkshire girl, has been introduced. She was Mary's maid at Misselthwaite Manor. She was hardworking and generous. She told Mary that she has 11 younger brothers and sisters, and they all live in a little house on the moor. She told Mary about the secret garden, which was locked by Mr. Craven after the death of his wife. In a cold winter day, while Mary was roaming in the garden, she met an old gardener whose name was Ben Weatherstaff. He introduced Mary to the bird Robin. Then there comes an act which was very suspicious. Mary heard someone crying and asked Martha, but Martha denied, saying, "There's nothing, only the wind." But Mary thought that this house is full of secrets. Chapter 3 starts with the arrival of spring, making everything beautiful and colorful. Martha went to see her family, and Mary went out to the gardens. She saw Ben happy as everything was growing. While enjoying in the gardens, Mary saw Robin singing and flying. And suddenly, Mary found the key to the garden. Next morning, Martha came back with a gift from her mother for Mary. It was a skipping rope. Mary skipped and went into the gardens. As the wind blew, Mary found the heavy door in the garden. She unlocked the door, and here she was inside the secret garden. The garden was the most mysterious place anyone could imagine. There were hundreds of plants and rose bushes, but everything looked that it has died. Mary noticed some green plants and decided to help the flowers grow. Mary told Martha that she wanted to make a garden. Now let's talk about chapter 4. A new character has been introduced and his name was Dickon. Before talking about Dickon, let's talk about chapter 4 when it opens. Mary had a conversation with Mr. Ben Weatherstaff. They were talking about Ben Weatherstaff's favorite flowers. He told Mary that he liked roses the most and told her that he worked for a young lady 10 years ago in her garden, and her garden was full of roses and she loved them very much. But the lady is no more. She is in the heaven. Now what do you think? He was talking of whom? Dot dot dot. Now come back to the character Dickon. Okay, Dickon, he was 12 years old. He has blue eyes and big smile. Dickon was Martha's brother. He loved playing on the moor. He loved nature. Wild animals and birds were his friend. He bought tools and flower seeds for Mary. Dickon agreed to help Mary to make the garden come alive. Mrs. Medlock took Mary to meet her uncle, Mr. Archibald Craven, and we have been told about him that he was a tall man with an unhappy face. He went into depression after the death of his wife. He does not care about anybody, and after the death of his wife, he locked the garden and threw away the keys. But he wanted to make Mary happy. He asked her about the interest, whether she need toys or books. And you know, my students, what did Mary reply? She replied that I like playing outside and I would like a little garden. I think you all also love playing outside. It was the end of chapter 4. Hope you all enjoyed today's lesson. Now let's move to our task of week 9. You have to read chapter 4 thoroughly and make notes of important happenings to answer the questions. You have to underline difficult words and find out the meanings in the dictionary and write those meanings and words in your vocabulary journal or on your loose sheets. Now let's talk about written work. What did Mary ask Mr. Ben and what was his reply? Recall the story, read it again and answer the questions. Do you think the woman about whom Mr. Ben talked was wife of Mr. Craven? ... Think about your answer and give a reason. You have to describe Dickon in one line. What do you think? What kind of boy he was? Give a reason for your answer. Thank you for watching the video. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Have a nice day.